The past 48 hours have been absolutely crazy for crypto. I mean, you guys have probably realized we just crashed below $99,000 per Bitcoin, and basically every single coin in my portfolio got absolutely annihilated, like absolutely destroyed for almost, in my opinion, no reason. For example, if you take a look at this right here, we had for the COVID crash, right? It was a pretty bad freaking day. In reality, we only had like $1.2 billion worth of liquidations. FTX, they all saw as like one of the craziest days for crypto as well. In reality, again, it's only $1.6 billion worth of liquidations. And then today, or let's call it yesterday, just the past like 24 hours basically, we had 2.1 billion worth of liquidations. When you really start breaking it down, it's like these weeks have just been terrible, even though it kind of felt like, I mean, the 6th of October, so I believe about a month ago or so, we had ourselves all-time highs all across the board. Things were looking amazing for basically this Q4, and specifically October. But now October ended quite negatively, and November started pretty negatively as well, with one of the worst days just now. It's really quite interesting when you think about it. And also, I really like this comment right here, that you can see. He said, the only metric we keep setting new highs in is the liquidations. Because just now, of course, a few weeks ago, we saw ourselves, 19 billion or something like that in a day, which obviously, in comparison to everything before, was just astronomical. But even this, to me at least, right, looking at all my positions, this was really quite bad. And actually, some of my trades got absolutely destroyed, which are not in this little list. And actually, funnily enough, as you might notice now, there's a lot less trades than before because a lot of them actually realize, hey, you know what? It's not worth keeping them open forever, especially with the funding you fee if you've got millions of dollars worth of trades open. But this one, for example, I think just, 2 days ago, it was actually in pretty good profit. Then overnight, I think it dropped to like minus 150 or something like that. And right now we are again at only minus 71,000. So really not that bad. But then when you start counting up all the positions and just, I guess, spot holdings and stuff, it actually hits quite hard just over like a 24-hour period. And again, you only really notice that if you've got some juicy positions open, which now, here, they're not really too crazy. As you can see, this is, in my opinion, not really anything to discuss too much. What I did think was more interesting, specifically because, as you guys have seen, most of the time my biggest position is XRP. There's a few reasons for that, but not really important for right now. What is most important is a tweet that I don't have many notifications on X, right? But this I have. And so about 10 minutes ago, that's why I decided to make another video right now, or 15 minutes ago by this point. Some new post came out. And what's in that post actually quite shocked me. Let's take a look. So what he said, and again, to me, quite shocking this, 2025, without a doubt, has been an incredible year for Ripple. And a record year for crypto as a whole, which partially true, partially terrible, partially true. Although we have a couple of months left, this announcement feels like the cherry on top of a mountain of good news. Because what happened? Well, today they announced a $500 million investment in Ripple from Fortress Investment Group, CIT Securities, like a Citadel, Citadel Securities, Pantera and Galaxy, Brevin Howard and Marshall Wace at, and again, this is the shocker to me, a $40 billion valuation. I think last time I saw something, I think it was like 15 or 20 billion. They moved up to 40 billion, really? Like, that's kind of crazy to me. Regardless, this investment isn't just validation of Ripple's growth strategy. Sometimes I also think maybe they're doing some shenanigans with that. But then again, when it's this, like Citadel, for example, if it was just Pantera, to be honest, or Galaxy, I could actually, I could feel like there might be some shenanigans going on to get the valuation higher. But with Citadel joining and the other ones, which I'm not too familiar with as to how much shenanigans they could pull off or do pull off, no, I really think it might actually be worth, at this point, 40 billion. This investment isn't just validation of Ripple's growth strategy and business built on the foundation of XRP, but also a clear bet on what the future of crypto will look like. I'm very proud of what we built and all things to come. And I keep thinking about this for a long time. Theoretically speaking, Ripple as a company is quite cheap for the amount of cash they've got on hand, specifically with the growth that XRP has seen just recently. When you start breaking down just how much money they have in like reserves, and now with their very profitable RLUSD, I told y'all before, for Ripple, this is actually pretty huge, but it could also be pretty huge for XRP. Take a look at this. Ripple Prime breaks grounds in the US today with the launch of digital asset spot prime brokerage capabilities, allowing clients to execute OTC spot transactions across the most prominent digital assets and stablecoins, including XRP and RLUSD. These guys are working hard, man. Like, things are moving quite fast over there. If you guys were not up to date, there was a lot of stuff that happened just now. For example, so let's actually take a look at the full tweet. We take a look at this first. Introducing Ripple Prime. We're pleased to share that our acquisition of 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 is officially complete, which I guess took a long time, huh? Making Ripple the first crypto company to own and operate a global multi-asset prime broker, bringing the promise of digital assets to institutional customers at scale. Now, Brad Garlinghouse has added to that, with today's close of 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, now Ripple Prime, Ripple has announced 5 major acquisitions in 2 years. Treasury last week, Real in August, Standard Custody in 2024, 𝗓𝗏𝗀, which doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was in 2023. And as we continue to build solutions towards enabling an internet of value, I'm reminding you, all that XRP sits at the center of everything Ripple does, lock in. And this is what a lot of people took as like the let's call it the holy moment. You know what I mean? Like that moment where things just start going absolutely crazy. They kind of did, but then the opposite way is obviously things didn't go that well for a while. But I think this is really why now a lot of people are holding their XRP a lot stronger and feel more for it, specifically because of what the CEO of Ripple said. Now, again, I'm always suspicious. When they say that, I think about it 2 ways. One is they're trying to exit this motherfucker. Not really, I'm just joking about it, but they're exiting. He's trying to make everybody go right now, buy right now, because he really just specifically says, I'm reminding you all that XRP sits at the center of everything Ripple does. Like, he's usually quite vague about this stuff, but now just officially stating that he's reminding everybody XRP is the center of all they do, with all the acquisitions, with now all the business. Why all of a sudden has he become such a freaking, let's call it, bull? That is really interesting to me. Like, right? He's gotten so excited. Now, partially, I kind of feel as if this might be a BNB situation as well, where if you guys realized, Aster, BNB, a lot of those coins, they really started doing really quite well when CZ started talking about it. Why did CZ start talking about it? Probably because government-wise, they've become a lot easier when it comes to all this. So there's been a lot less stress over not being able to talk about it, let's call it. And I guess the president of the US launched his own coin, which almost is like a year ago already, by the way. Like, time was really fast. But I'm starting to realize probably more and more CEOs or highly ranking people in the business will probably start promoting their coins just a lot more, because the repercussions of it are not as bad as they thought it was going to be. I mean, right now, most of the lawsuits that were against these crypto companies have been dropped. And I really wonder as well what's going to happen to the Ripple lawsuit over time, because in reality, I mean, they had to still pay a pretty big fine, right? But how is that actually going to end up in the end? Like, when everything turns to, oh, it was all proper, like, is it going to be like an apology and stuff? And like, oh, no worries. Blah, blah. But once you take money from a company and you clear the lawsuit and stuff, I kind of wonder if you can really take it back like that. I don't think so. But one thing that becomes quite interesting as well, this is Ripple aside, XRP aside, which really, again, even if you bought that dip just now, would have been pretty good. When you really start breaking it down, if every single time the price starts doing something shaky and crazy and scary, like what we just saw, you just start longing the freaking crap out of things. You know, one of my longs actually got wrecked overnight, which was kind of awful. Why? Because the price went like $7, Ethereum specifically, went $7 below. So that trade got absolutely wrecked. But I just decided to double down, buy right back in and realize, hey, you know what? It's a few dollars down from where I got liquidated. In reality, if I just open it back up and go for it, I'm basically doubling down, sure, but I'm not really losing in the process, if you get my drift. And now, because the price is up like $300 from yesterday, that's pretty nice. I mean, it's still 10% basically that it was up from that dip. So when you, for example, let's say you open $500,000 trade, for example, to get 10% on that just overnight, it's not bad. Same goes for Solana, same goes for most of these. Bitcoin, again, went below 99,000, now back to 103. A lot of people think this is nothing because they're dreaming big. And I still think this season we are going to see really big numbers. But XRP just now as well went, what, 212, 215 or something stupid that it went to, maybe 218. It was really dark. All right, I'm looking at my portfolio just kind of crying. Not really, but you get my drift. But if you just take those opportunities, sure, there's risk that we're going to crash more. Because earlier in the day, a lot of people thought that that would be the worst, with Bitcoin at like 104, Ethereum at I think 3,600 or something like that. And obviously it got way worse because we went down like another 15%. But then again, I see it from a different perspective, which is it cannot go down that much. A lot of other altcoins can. We saw with Atom going down 99.9% because of liquidity issues on exchanges, sure. But specifically if you're buying spot, or if again you've got some okay risk management and you can handle like some proper drawdown, most people, they just actually trade Bitcoin with just a few X leverage, because what is the probability of BTC actually going below, let's call it $70,000, right? Below 95, there's chances for all that because we just dropped below 100. So I mean, there's possibilities, right? What is the chance we actually go below 80, another 20% down from here, $40,000, almost $50,000 below the all-time high? I think the probability of that is quite small. And so for that reason, these are just easier to open, easier to go for if you're more on the, let's call it conservative side. But I like XRP more because I think the gain potential is a lot nicer. And specifically because the CEO started to switch up and become a lot more of a bull. Just like why I like BNB and a couple of those coins a lot. Because I just don't think they're going to drop as much. Again, if we have another flash crash, like what we saw just like 2.5 weeks ago or something like that, sure, we might get wrecked. But again, those are just some things you cannot avoid. But the whole idea is to, in the process, make a lot more than what you lose in, for example, a really, really bad day. At the end of the day, we might have erased a lot of gains over that specific night. But if I start breaking it down, that was the worst event, I think, since 2021, practically. Because even the FTX thing, it really didn't hit me that hard. I mean, no, I think the Luna thing was actually significantly worse. But that was also like 2022. So it's been a few years, basically, since I had a really, really awful day. So when you break it down, 3 years in the process, I could have made so much if I just committed, doubled down, and went for it, specifically with every dip. That sure, one time, maybe, because you keep upping the scale, you lose a lot. But that's, again, the risk that you're taking in this case. That flash crash, specifically the one we saw now, which was 10 times higher than what we've ever seen before, it can, right? Hey, sometimes you take those. Now my strategies are a bit more conservative than they were before. My positions are a lot less severe than before. But regardless, I just keep it up because I realize the probability of these things still doubling over the season is still quite high. A lot of people can't see that far into the future. I mean, I still don't have a freaking crystal ball. I don't know for sure. But the probability to me is so freaking high. I just keep going for it. I just keep buying, and I don't care what anybody says. It's just my strategy, just how I do it. And I think at the end of the day, we'll win. But hey, that's just my thoughts. Wanted to talk to you guys quickly about the Ripple thing. Just wanted to quickly mention that there's no real good reason why prices are going down. Some people are talking about Trump's announcement and things like that, but then I keep breaking it down saying, you know what? I think it's really just, let's call it market movement without that much of a news involvement. I saw some other politic-related things and actually crypto-politic-related things, but nothing interesting enough to warrant such a dump. So, a nothing burger. Just I'm buying like always, and you know what, guys? See you guys again in another crypto video tomorrow. By the way, if you want to trade, links are down below. It's also what I do every single day. Right now, may not look that good, but funnily enough, this trade you're seeing, like that is down what, 75K here, was down 150 earlier, like I told you. This is actually up 400K before as well, right? So it's kind of funny how things change over time. And in reality, as I keep convincing myself and I guess others, is this is a temporary thing. I only took $40,000 profit when it was in, like I told you, I think 400,000 profit or something like that. And right now we're at minus 70, so we're 500K down just on this trade, just this one trade alone. But I still think actually, I don't think it will take that long before this is going to be an up more than that. I think at least up 700K. So I don't know, it's just a waiting game. And sure, it may be long in the process, but I think it's worth it in the end. Anyway, guys, that's about it for right now. See you guys again in another crypto video somewhere tomorrow probably.